I call the meeting of the San Juan Unified District Board of Education to order. There are two closed session items on tonight's agenda. First, collective bargaining matters, discussion with negotiator Daniel Thigpen, Senior Director of Labor Relations regarding CSEA Chapter 127 General Operations Support, chauffeurs, teamsters, Local 150, transportation supervisors, teachers, and certificated supervisory units, and regarding non-represented groups, management and confidential units under Government Code Section 54957.6. And the second matter is personnel matters, Government Code Section 54957, superintendent search and public employee appointment, employment superintendent. Do we have any? We have no speaker cards. Therefore, we will now move into closed session and we will return to open session at 6:30 p.m. I call the meeting of the San Juan Unified School District Board of Education back to order. The meeting is being audio and video recorded, and the recording may capture sounds and images of those attending this meeting. The recording will be posted on the district website. Board meetings are being held in person in the boardroom at the district office, and the public is welcome to attend. Alternatively, the meeting may also be viewed on the district YouTube channel where it is being live streamed. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome. My name is Michael Kibben. I'm the board president. To my right is Ms. Ziva Creason, the board vice president. To her right is Ms. Pam Costa, board clerk. And to her right is Mr. Saul Hernandez and Ms. Paula Vazquez, board members. To my left is Superintendent Katie Kern, and to his left is board administrative assistant Stephanie Cunningham. Individuals who are attending the meeting in person and would like to offer public comment, we ask that you complete a speaker request card available at the staff table, and you will be called on at the appropriate time during the agenda. Please note that Board Bylaw 9323 limits visitor comments to 2 minutes per speaker, with no more than 30 minutes per single topic. Time will be extended to any speaker who uses an interpreter. Please be aware that public comments, including your name, become part of the public record. We are now at item D1, approval of minutes for August 4th. Are there any corrections to the minutes? It has been moved by Mr. Hernandez, seconded by Ms. Creason. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion is passed 4-0 with 1 abstention. We are now at item D2, approval of the minutes of August 9th. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes of August 9th? Moved by Ms. Costa, seconded by Ms. Creason. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That too is unanimous. Okay, we move now to items E3(1) through E4. Are there any reports? There are no district or organization reports. We now move to closed session items. This is item E5. Ms. Costa.
I get the microphone.
In closed session, the board voted 4-1 to begin an internal search for the district's next superintendent. The board is proud of the work being done in the district and recognizes that there are many opportunities for continued growth. We believe that growth can best be achieved through leadership that is both knowledgeable about our work and ready to bring new energy to our areas of opportunity. The board believes that an internal candidate is also the most likely to ensure that no time is lost as we work to address our most pressing and urgent needs, as well as provide a smooth transition given the superintendent's current timeline for retirement. A public input process will be conducted in the coming weeks to help inform the selection. A timeline for the process and details of the public input methods can be found at www.san.edu/superintendent starting later this evening. Thank you.
We are now at item F, visitor comments. Mr. Kern, we do have speaker cards we organized. And okay, we organize this. I would like to remind the public that the comments are limited to 2 minutes. The clock on the screen counts down the time. Under the Ralph M. Brown Act, the board is not allowed to comment on items that are not on the agenda. So we are not ignoring your comments. We just can't respond to any individual comments. The superintendent can refer items to staff who can follow up with you related to your concern. Mr. Kern, will you begin the process?
Thank you, Board President. I'm going to call 3 names at a time. So first, we have a total of 10 callers tonight. Our first caller will be Jeffrey Brown, followed by April Bean, followed by Deborah Wolden. Mr. Brown.
Good evening, Board. My name is Jeffrey Bryant. I'm native of Sacramento, gone K through 12 in the San Juan Unified School District. I was lucky enough to marry my best friend. I met in school, and we still have our roots here in Sacramento. We live in Orangeville. I have 2 kids in the school district, and what concerns me most is about what occurred last year, watching the mandates and all the different things that occurred. And I just want to stay involved. So I just want to come up here and introduce myself. I know I was active last school year, and I want to remain that. I will be on the ballot in November, running in District 5 against Mr. McKibben here. So I just thought I'd let people know in the community that I'm here. I want to stay involved. I want to let you board members know that I'm watching. I want to stay involved and help in any way I can. Not trying to cause any ruckus. I just want to watch, get involved, and help our community. So again, I just want to take my time to come in here and introduce myself in a more professional manner. Let everybody know why I was here and a little bit about myself and who I am. And yeah, so again, I'm Jeffrey Bryant, jeffreybryant.com. And I hope to see you guys later on this year. I'll continue to come to these meetings. But I just want to introduce myself and say hello and let you guys know that I'll be engaged with the community and you guys as well. So thank you very much.
Hello, my name is April Bean, and although my home is within the San Juan district boundaries, we have pulled our kids out of this school due to our concerns with the system. Each day I feel more confirmed that this was the right choice for our family, and this week I'm here to share with you another reason why. As you know, just last month, we had a teacher in our district who was arrested for child sexual abuse. And now it has been brought to my attention that we also have a teacher at a school site just 2 miles away from that one who is using what appears to be her very public platform as a blogger and stand-up comedian to share her unique brand of humor, which I feel that if the parents of her students knew about it, they might not consider it a laughing matter. Specifically, this teacher penned an article in 2021 on an anti-capitalist website entitled Erotic Fantasies for Distance Learning Teachers. If you haven't read it, I recommend that you check it out, as I suspect that some of her impressionable 7th and 8th graders may have already done so. A few highlights from the teacher's article discusses her climaxing and having a wildly explosive orgasm as it relates to distance learning. Now, I told you that she is a stand-up comedian, and I'm just not sure I find this humorous, given her role as a mentor to the vulnerable children. And I'm not sure the parents of her students would lean into funny here. So, as many of you are up for re-election in November, and they will be competitive races, no one will walk back onto the sport uncontested. immediate benefit to the security of your position safety, I guidance that I never need your attention. Because while we may not all send our students to be closed, we do all vote. Thank you very much.
Reese and Jeanette, we do not have left today.
Hey, Honorable Board, Member Woolley, wanted to just say congratulations on looking for a new superintendent. It's exciting and everything's gonna be changing. Just wanted to ask that as we make the decision to recruit and hire a new superintendent, I would really like it to be as public as possible. Loop in the parents so that they can be part of the recruitment process in a like a board setting. We really want to be involved in this recruitment. So a parent majority would like to be on the advisory board. We know that the decision that you make will be so important for years to come. We're gonna have 7 board members coming up in the election in November who would really like it if you would postpone seating the new superintendent after the 7 new school board members have been elected and seated in December. That's less than 100 days away. So my request is that you don't make a decision until the new board is seated and you make that final determination. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, board members. My name is Brett Booth, and I was born here and I lived here most of my life. I've been in Citrus Heights for over 2 years. I would like to address you researching regarding the search for a new superintendent. I want to kind of offer our request for that process. First and more formal, I believe that we would like to request a public and transparent process. While we recognize that some of the aspects of that is private and confidential, we would urge the board to make as many processes as public and transparent as possible. Hoping for these discussions in an open public session so that the board and the public is aware of these conversations. To that end, I would like to request that an advisory board be appointed with a parent majority be involved in the process, including the confidential aspects of that process to ensure that parents are represented in those conversations and that they have a voice at the table, considering that they are the equal voices of the students and of the district they are in. Most importantly, we would like to request final interviews, that the final interviews, ultimate decision be deferred until the new board of education is seated in December. The board will be transitioning from 5 members to 7. There are 4 seats up for election in November, which is less than 100 days away. I don't think that there'll be a process to hire a superintendent prior to that. I think it's important for the board to be intentionally transparent and announce that they won't make a decision until the new board is seated and make that final determination. Appreciate your time and thank you very much.
Followed by one in English.
Hi, good evening. I just made aware of the articles with my says entitled "The Product Fantasy for Business Learning." The link to the site can easily be found on her own webpage. Any student can easily locate it. I find it incredibly disturbing and not suitable. I find her lack of regard for her responsibility and lack of discernment she has shown posting her content online, knowing that it can be found easily by her middle school students concerning. It says that referenced in another article, her commitment to starting the first day of school telling her she's gay. Why? Why does her sexual preference need to be disclosed to students from day 1? Why is that any of their business? I don't care that she's gay, couldn't care less. I care that she feels that that's the most important thing about her, and that her students, minor children, need to know her sexuality. I am concerned that it sends a message to the students that their sexuality is not becoming about them. Teaching kids to be kind and respectful and accepting of others should be standards. But the focus of sexuality seems to have moved into more of public school citizens. The kids are not in public school who are about sexuality. They're going to learn English, math, history, and science, etc. In addition, she referenced the ability to in a classroom. In a workplace, and when in a workplace, you are there to represent your employer. In this case, it is the people of this community, the parents of the children in the district, who employ the district staff and the teaching staff. I work in a workplace, and believe me, I would quickly be unemployed if I were to go in there and be my true self. How I dress, how I speak to clients, my entire demeanor is key to my continued employment. Some jobs have an extra added layer of responsibility attached to them, and teaching is one of those jobs.
Hello, board members. Thank you very much. I appreciate your attention. I would like to echo on the thoughts of the previous two speakers who brought up the appointment of the new superintendent. And in lieu of the elections coming up in November, I feel like it would be best. We are replacing, you guys have 5 members, we're going to 7. 4 of you guys might be flipping. And I feel it's very important that you guys wait until after the election to appoint a superintendent. Secondly, I would also like to suggest that there be a parent oversight committee to help bring about the new superintendent. We would like full transparency, and we would like to be very much involved in what goes forward. I appreciate your attention. Thank you. So if there's anything that we can do, if there's ways that we can do this or create this committee, I don't know anything about it, but I would very much appreciate any outreach to tell us what we need to do to create this. We'd like to work with you in creating this. I believe it's going to be beneficial to both the board and the community to have this be in place. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I wanted to let you know that I told the district current plan to build the middle school at Creekside for 2 main reasons. One, you have made a less than transparent case to build the school, and I'm not done with due diligence to confirm that Creekside is indeed the appropriate site. Regarding the issue of transparency, the district claims that 600 student vote is coming, but has not publicly provided the data to support this assertion. When it will be done, how long will it last? What happens when the vote decides? This project is estimated to be a $56 million expenditure. Did the district open the bid to numerous contracts? If not, why not? How thorough was the RFP? With my understanding, there was only a 1-page RFP. The district plans to move some local and local on Captain Johnson. What academic and psychosocial interventions are planned for the city population beyond those community employers? Is the district willing to provide transportation for those in need? Regarding the appropriateness of the site, the district claims to have studied and rejected the much larger and senior campus as an appropriate alternative. What information data supports this view? The current plan is about the safety issue for students having to walk the main street thoroughfares. How will this be mitigated? A new municipal promise to create a traffic parking nightmare for local residents in already impacted neighborhood. Access to the nature area is in jeopardy. The effort to accommodate 600 students on site, maybe 300 students, is very suspect. These and many of the questions need to be answered and resolved before the plan is put in place or before the other planning. I urge to slow down the community to remit the issue when you board members and new superintendent are in place. Thank you.
Followed by Chair Casilla.
Good evening, President McKinnon, board members, Superintendent Kern, Ms. Cunningham. I hope Stephen couldn't be here tonight, but he shared comments with me, which I in large part tend to agree with, including comments or
Our school district did well in modernizing Barrett Middle School. It is a 22-acre campus with 720 students. The proposed Creekside Middle School campus has less than 90 buildable acres for 670 students. If Barrett had Creekside's student body density, Barrett would have over 1,600 students. It's obvious students are being crammed into a proposed Creekside campus. That's unfair to the kids. We suggest that the district slow down and rethink the decision process for middle schools in the Arden Arcade area. Now is not a good time to be making big, expensive decisions like new middle school campuses at Creekside and Arcade. Those new campuses are not in San Juan's facility plan. The district superintendent is retiring, and the election in November will change the makeup of your board by at least 2 seats as it moves to 7 by district trustees. He thinks that an election could result in resignation of a trustee and yet another new member. The fluid nature of these leadership changes means now is not a time to rush ahead with major changes in the Arden Arcade Middle Schools that will have an impact for decades. A pause is called for out of respect of the new board members and leadership that will serve on your board. Thank you for your time.
Hi, tonight I'd like to bring to this board's attention some information that has been put out at public meetings regarding the relocation of Catherine Johnson Middle School. First, that the district has conveyed to the public that a majority of students enrolled in Catherine Johnson want to move. However, the district's own study revealed different information. A majority of 6th graders at Catherine Johnson have a desire to keep their middle school at the Encina campus. In addition, the questions posed in the study could have not produced accurate results. No questions asked, should we move Catherine Johnson Middle School to the Creekside campus 2.2 miles away? Relevant information was omitted, and this is especially important for students at Catherine Johnson who have limited transportation options. The takeaway is, please inform your constituents of your overall plan to move middle school boundaries on the west side and the Catherine Johnson Middle School to Creekside. Once constituents are informed, please listen to what they have to say. Next, the district has repeatedly conveyed that it is no longer feasible to keep Catherine Johnson Middle School on the Encina campus. This is curious because no feasibility study was ever conducted. This raises many questions. Here are a few. Will Catherine Johnson students be required to walk 1.5 miles to get to their new school location? Is this an appropriate distance to walk for grade level? How will having to walk 3 miles round trip every day to attend school impact chronic absenteeism? How will it impact grades, and how will it impact educational outcomes? How will it impact extracurricular involvement and subsequent scholarship opportunities? How will it impact parent engagement and involvement? Until these students are given consideration, I'm sorry, you're going to be stuck with me. I'm going to be up here talking on the mic.
Cherish Casteda.
Good afternoon, San Juan School District Board. My name is Cherish Castaneda. I have 2 children in the district, a 4th grader and a freshman. She comes home and tells me that there's a classroom, a special classroom where you get pizza and ice cream and they can change their clothes to match whatever pronoun they feel like they are that day. Secrets that the teachers are sharing with the students that they're not supposed to come home and tell their parents. That sounds like sexual predators to me. Changing your clothes in a classroom with a teacher alone and not supposed to tell your parents. Pronouns, these children are 2 years behind in academic studies, but you want them to decide what their sexual orientation is at school. That is extremely inappropriate, okay? Not what they should be coming home and telling me. Makes me want to pull my kids out right now. But I have more faith than that in you guys. San Juan School District has been a really good school district. The last 2 years, we've lost our way. So I hope you guys can figure out what's going on and get it fixed, because it's not appropriate for my fourth grader to ask me what his pronouns are. He doesn't know. He's 2 years behind in every other area of topic of study. I'm not going to have that conversation with him because he's just a kid. Let them develop on their own. Sexual orientation is an adult conversation. It should not be being had at school, especially with teachers sharing their sexuality with children. That is predatory behavior, completely unacceptable and unnecessary. Focus on academics, get our children socially back into the places they were before they were masked for 2 years. They are psychologically traumatized and behind, and that is what we should be focused on. COVID testing, the DNA swabs, they're sending that information for marketing and research purposes. They're collecting data on our children. Do not allow that to happen. I don't care what they tell you. There's no mandate. There's no lawful reason. Do not allow that in our
We are at item G, consent calendar. And do any board members wish to remove any items from the consent calendar? Ms. Costa.
Yes, G11, please.
We are moving out G11. Is there a motion to approve G1 through G10? Moved by Ms. Creason, seconded by Ms. Costa. It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify approval of the consent items G1 through G10, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That was unanimous. Item G11 was pulled from a consent calendar by Ms. Costa. Is there a motion to approve item G11?
I move item G11.
Ms. Viasquez has moved and seconded by Mr. Hernandez. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? And one abstain. This motion passes 4-0 with one abstention. We now move on to the business items. And the first business item is I1, 22-23 start of the school. Ms. Bassanelli.
Good evening, President McKibben, board members, Superintendent Kern, and Ms. Cunningham. The start of the school year signals possibility and opportunity for our students, families, district staff, and the community. Tonight, I would like to provide you with an overview of the actions that took place to set the stage for a school year focused on welcoming and inclusive environments where students can learn and grow. There's a presentation that's coming up. There we go. All right, so our total enrollment as of yesterday is 37,894. This is 380 students over our projections. And what we've seen is that the bulk of this growth is in secondary currently. In terms of trends, our lowest size class other than transitional kindergarten is our kindergarten class. As I mentioned, secondary is where we're seeing the most growth with the majority of our secondary schools over their projections. And we've seen over 4,000 enrollments take place since June 1st, and this has happened either online or in person. You can see the enrollment locations that we've held over the summer. In terms of staffing, our new hires, we've processed over 300 new hires and counting. To support these new hire efforts, our human resources held recruitment fairs. They conducted cold calls to prospective candidates. They improved and streamlined our interview processes, and they shortened the timeline for employment offers. We've received a lot of positive feedback from hiring staff around these processes. We continue to have certificated vacancies with the majority of our vacancies sitting in elementary, secondary, and special education teachers. We continue to have many classified vacancies with our instructional assistants at each level. That's 1, 2, and 3 vacancies. Those are our largest currently. And it's followed though by vacancies in nutrition services, school playground rec aides, and our bilingual instructional assistants. I'm going to be sharing with you several different professional learning opportunities that we provided for employees to help prepare for the start of the year. As I visited many of these events, I was struck by the energy in the room and also the elevated opportunities that staff put together for adult learning. So the first event that I would like to highlight is our Classified Office Support Day that was held on Monday, July 25th, and we had 185 attendees. The departments that you see on this slide, they provided top-notch learning opportunities for our school staff to learn technical aspects related to those topic areas that are associated to their departments. In addition to learning about technical aspects of office support, our attendees also covered other important topics such as supporting families and students that are living in transition or who are homeless and identified through McKinney-Vento. In this session, participants learned the educational definition of homeless, how to identify and support students living in transition, and how to connect students and families with district and community supports and resources. Another session provided an overview of the services provided through our Family and Community Engagement Department. They received tips on how to foster family and school engagement as we kicked off the school year, provided opportunities to build partnerships with communities, as well as dig into the volunteer process, as well as focus on creating safe and welcoming environments within the office, and a overview of the problem resolution process. The following day on Tuesday, July 26th, we held a vice principal training with 60 vice principals. And during this training, we focused on student behavior supports, and they built skills around alternatives to suspension, behavior interventions, and progressive student discipline, best practices for discipline investigations, and also the legal requirements that surround student suspensions and expulsions, including best practices regarding documentation. On Wednesday, July 26, over 200 district and site administrators participated in our Equity Summit, which focused on building foundations for equitable actions through adaptive and technical change. To kick off our morning, we had Alexandra Juan, who is a 19-year-old Vietnamese American poet and an alumni of Marilima High School and Sacramento Area Youth Speaks. She was also the 2021 Youth Poet Laureate, a Western Regional Ambassador, and the 2021 National Youth Poet Laureate of the United States. She shared with us a poem she wrote about her school experience titled Autumn Prayer. The message within her poem was deeply moving and set the stage for the rest of the day's work. Following Alexandra, administrators dug into discussions around equity in education, moving from theory to action, and exploring how our unconscious bias can shape perceptions and how we respond to different situations and events. An example that they were provided of moving from theory to action was provided through our Rio Americano student equity team, in which they shared with administrators the steps they were taking to work with school staff and community to create welcoming and inclusive environments through the examination and implementation of improved welcoming practices and their dress code policies. And that was all before lunch. Following lunch, participants chose 2 of the 11 breakout session topic areas that you see at the top of the slide. Our Smooth Start effort is a strong partnership with many collaborating departments. One that is mistakenly omitted from the list, but is a key partner of our San Juan Teachers Association. This event was held on Monday, August 1st and Tuesday, August 2nd. We had over 121 new teachers and practitioners attend this 2-day event that was focused on the smooth start to the school year. Day 1 included technology distribution and setup, an introduction to San Juan Unified School District, an introduction into the benefits of association membership, an overview of the system for professional growth, as well as an introduction to unconscious bias. Day 2 provided conference-style sessions that included many topics such as tools and strategies for student engagement, supporting student behavior, curriculum, instructional technology and assessment tools, supporting LGBTQ+ youth, developing our equity lens, classroom management and behavior strategies, and serving students with special needs, both for the general education teacher and the special education teacher. On August 2nd, we also held a Cultivating Leaders meet and greet for 92 new principals, new vice principals, aspiring leaders, and teacher leaders. This event was held at Milagro Center, and this meet and greet included activities that targeted table discussions. They had a mix and match protocol where they were able to meet other participants, reflection on their leadership strengths, and they were also able to provide program input through a shared interest survey. Our first seminar kickoff is focused on anti-bias leadership and inclusive practices, and that's scheduled for September 13th through the 15th. We will also be providing an update to the board at a future meeting regarding this program. We had 100 principals and vice principals attend our site leadership meeting and communication camp on Wednesday, August 3rd at Camp Pollock. During the morning time, leaders revisited and built upon the work that they begun at the Equity Summit, and they centered their discussions around who we are as leaders and the strengths we bring with us, the intersection of our leadership strengths and our equity inclusion efforts, and knowing ourselves along our diversity, equity, and inclusion journey. During the afternoon within the communications camp, leaders dug into the family and community engagement, community partnerships, problem resolution, back to school communication tips, and incident reporting and communication. On Thursday, August 4th, we had 120 new practitioners attend the System of Professional Growth Kickoff. This is also known as SPG. Participants spent the day calibrating around the SPG process and timelines, the language and the rubrics, what evidence looks like, how learning-focused conversations fit into this process, and the essential elements. On Friday, August 5th, we had over 100 transitional kindergarten through 8th grade art, music, and PE specialists attend our elementary specialist teacher professional learning day. During this day, they dug into learning that supported them in understanding the student information system and how to access information to better meet student needs. They worked on content area lesson planning as well as classroom management. Our school sites also, through their work with the site leaderships teams, they identify site level professional learning that takes place on Monday, August 8th and or Tuesday, August 9th. And just to give you a sample of the professional learning that was conducted at our school sites, it included for early child education, they dug into safety and supervision and also equity and social justice. Restorative practices, commitments to equity and social justice and data-driven instruction and intervention took place within K-8 elementary. Within middle schools, some of their work focused around intervention and response to intervention, equity, data-driven instruction. And then at high schools, some samples of professional learning included grading for equity, differentiated instruction, and social emotional learning strategies. We hosted several student welcoming activities at our school sites, and you can see from there within ACE, there was backpack distributions as well as home visits and meet and greet activities. Elementary also had meet and greet activities and resource fairs. Secondary really focused on linking students, older students with younger students who were entering those transitional grades for 6th grade and 9th grade. So this video was put together by our communications department, and it highlights some of our students' hopes and wishes for the school year.
Welcome San Juan Unified students, families, and staff to the 2022-2023 school year. We're excited for each of you to join us for a year full of learning, fun, and opportunities. We asked students today what they are looking forward to most this year.
I'm excited for the dances and the homecoming.
I'm excited to make a new best friend and make a bunch of friends.
I'm excited to read and meet my new teacher and do math.
I'm excited about class, math, homework, and stuff.
What are their goals?
I just want to really work hard and just try my best the entire year and have fun.
Just to stay on task and get my work done.
To get better at sports.
especially football and volleyball.
I want to get good grades and stay out of trouble.
And why they love their San Juan Unified School.
Green Oaks has a lot of wonderful kids. The great community. There's a lot of people that are like friendly. It's just really easy to make friends here.
Because I love Starking. I mean, it's one of my favorite schools. Because I get to meet a lot of friends, new teachers, and stuff like that.
I love that there's so many different diversities and ethnicities and different ways of thinking and creativity.
I know it's my first day, but it's already a really good school.
We hope everyone had a great first day and will have an even better school year.
Try your hardest.
And I see the smiles on your faces, and I know that for those of you that were at school for the first day, you felt this energy and you saw our students happy and returning to school. And so I want to thank the comms department for putting together that video. In terms of our family and community engagement efforts, over the summer, we hosted 125 family members at our Camp Winthers for family leadership camps during July, where we continue to cultivate their leadership skills and build community together. The FACE department hosted 18 pop-up events across the district throughout the summer and into back to school week, partnering with district departments and community organizations that were focused on providing resources, supplies, and also having just plain old fun. The FACE department also led multiple workshops, a summer book study, and back to school trainings for over 600 classified and certificated staff, students, or staff, families, and community. And then lastly, the Sparkle Foundation, About Kids, and the Kiwanis Club partnered with FACE to provide over 2,000 supply stuffed backpacks for San Juan students across the district. So transportation. So we launched a new van program pilot that is this year that allows driver trainees to transport students while working on obtaining their commercial school bus license. We also are currently transporting nearly 800 students at the start of this school year, although we anticipate this number will increase as we continue to register students for specialized transportation services. And we held a driver recognition ceremony on August 5th, and you can see those that were awarded the ceremony on the slide. In terms of technology, last year, you may recall we had over 20,000 Chromebooks checked out to support students in their transition back to in-person learning. A little more than 14,000 of those Chromebooks were collected at the end of last school year. Approximately half of these return devices were at the end of their life cycle, and they were taken out of service and disposed by a certificated e-waste recycler. The remaining devices are being evaluated to determine their working status. So over the summer, our tech services department performed an exhaustive task of inventorying every school's available stock of Chromebooks and their carts. During this process, any Chromebooks that were not under support were removed and replaced with a current model in order to keep the sites whole. So we replenished what was aging with newer devices. Additionally, for our textbook adoptions with Spanish 1 through 4 and high school biology and chemistry adoptions, we had nearly 90 dedicated carts as well as 3,200 Chromebooks delivered to schools. So utilizing the additional Chromebooks and carts that we acquired through the pandemic with one-time funds, we developed a plan based off of the current inventory that was collected over the summer to supplement sites with additional Chromebooks that would ensure every school will have available Chromebooks that's equal or above their school enrollment. And although we're not continuing the practice of issuing every student with a Chromebook for home use, sites do have inventory to issue Chromebooks for specific home use circumstances that may come up that are such as long-term illness, COVID quarantine, home and hospital, extended time from school, or specific instructional needs that need to be met outside of the school day. Lastly, we currently have a little over 2,200 hotspots that are still checked out to students across the district. We will continue to check these out from the district office to families who need internet connectivity at home. We're still issuing 1 device per household, and we're monitoring their usage. In terms of facilities, some facilities projects that were concluded included curb appeal projects. We had hard court resurfacing, tree work, flooring, pool resurfacing, and furniture replacement. Additionally, we outfitted 9 new transitional kindergarten classrooms with new furniture. They opened just this year. Barrett Middle School opened. We had 3 school refreshes, including paint, carpet, and furniture. And we also had roofing projects. So that includes just a little bit to the start of the year. It's a lot already. And so I just want to turn that back over to the board for any questions and discussion.
Do any board members have any questions or comments? Ms. Creason.
Feels weird for me going first. Thank you for the report. I love the beginning of the year report. I have just a couple of notes. I did have the opportunity to go to Del Deo for their first day of school, and those excited eyes. You get responses like, I'm excited about homework. You're only going to get that the first day. So that was, yep, that was really awesome. And at least at Del Deo, it was really great. They had different picture stations set up. So you could go and take a picture. It was just really great. It felt good to welcome folks back on campus. So a couple of questions regarding transportation. I know that RT is continuing to provide free transportation to students. And I'm wondering, and it's okay if we can't talk about this now, but I'm just wondering, how are we getting the word out about that? Just making sure our student body and families know.
So I believe, and I'm looking at Kristen and Amber Lee, that's a conversation that you guys even had with the principals. And that's really through San Juan Central as well, that we have those free bus passes. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the schools just have to reach out to San Juan Central and get the number of bus passes they need, and we provide those for them. So we should not be limited at all in the number of bus passes. Okay.
That's awesome. I know that at least a couple of kids in my life, friends of my kid, weren't aware, and I did tell them about it. So I don't know what the answer is, because I know we do so much to get the word out, maybe through social media. I know a lot of the kids follow their school site social media, at least in high school for the most part. Maybe that'll help, because I know folks want to know, and I think it's such a great service. We talked about the families. One of the questions I wrote, but you answered, was families can check out a hotspot. How do they know that? I'm wondering how we're getting the word out that that's an available service.
I can get back to you on how they know that.
Cool. Sounds good. And really just wanted to make sure folks know, because sometimes you don't ask if you don't know. Just curious. And again, okay, if you don't have the answer, is TK, are we still turning folks away?
To my knowledge, no.
Everyone's getting in now, huh?
Yeah.
That's great. That's great, great, great.
We could potentially have waiting lists at certain schools.
Okay.
But we have programs where there are available spaces, much like if you wanted to go to a school that is not in your neighborhood school and there wasn't space available.
Yep.
But I know, and I'm looking at Ms. Townsend, we have spaces at schools for TK. So if you don't get your first choice, there are alternatives.
Got it. And we moved to the lottery system, although it's not a lottery. We moved away from people camping overnight. Yeah. Okay. That's huge. And that's kind of new, right? Since in the last couple of years, that's huge. I'll stop there. Thank you so much. I know it's a lot to make the first day happen in the first month and then all the months rolling after that. But I know it's a very heavy lift. So thank you.
You're welcome. And I just want to recognize I'm one person up here presenting a body of work that's represented by everybody on the sides of the room. So I just want to thank them for their efforts.
Ms. Costa.
I was so impressed by the amount of training and how many different groups were trained. And that is so much a part of San Juan and why San Juan is so successful, because we do an outstanding job of training. And it was I really appreciated you including that. I won't lie, the kids in the video were my favorite. Just their total joy with the first day of school. And I know I experienced it personally, picking up my granddaughter on the first day of school, and her chatter about kindergarten. And our question when she gets into the car is, what is the best thing that happened today? And on the first day of school, she gave the picture perfect answer from my perspective, which was my teacher. I absolutely love her. And I thought, if every kid can say that, we are a success. So thank you for the report. It was very comprehensive and very much appreciated.
that I was able to go around the corner and visit Oakview. My favorite story of it was the young lady, I believe, first year in school that came off the bus. And one of the people said, where are your shoes? And it appeared to be new information to this young lady that you were supposed to wear shoes to school. We found them at the very bottom of her backpack. It was almost as big as she was. And so forth, and got her shoes on, and crisis was averted. But it was a great picture of looking at her face when somebody asked her, where are your shoes? So that was my day. It seemed way more interesting to me than the other thing I wanted to mention was the other event that I attended during the school start was the Cultivating Leaders program. It was so exciting to see this program where we are working to grow our own leadership and so forth, and how they were very much up to the task and so forth. And I wanted to thank Dr. Calvin in particular for leading us into this sort of thing. This is a very exciting prospect for us to have this kind of leadership pipeline. It just was very special.
Yeah. I wanted to go back and you were there, Dr. McKibben, at the equity summit that we started the year off with, and the power, Ms. Fiasquez was there as well, and the power of the student voice, both from the poet laureate who presented as a graduate, but the equity team from Rio. I have the good fortune that two of those students were on my SSAC. One of them graduated and he'll be attending UCLA, but they're actually the driving force behind what I think is going to come to the board later this year, which is a change in the dress code. And the research that they've done, the feedback that they've gotten from other students, they're so thoughtful. And I think about how much we've expanded student voice, but how many more opportunities. I had the opportunity to really challenge the school folks there, that there's no reason why you shouldn't be having, I've created this SSC a number of years ago, and it's been so beneficial for me that you really should be doing the same thing at your sites. And I was actually at an elementary school, and the principal was telling me that he was meeting with some fifth graders later that day, and he had taken into account and really wanted to hear student voice. Because I had said, I think you can even do this at elementary school. So I think that opportunity, when we talk about local control, really directly hearing from students, what their needs are, even when you see that in the video, they have so much to share with us. It's a real opportunity for us to continue to grow in that area.
Okay, we move on unless you want to finish up. Okay, we'll move on to item I2, revision of the LCAP PAC bylaws. Mr. Allen.
Good evening, President McKibben, members of the board, Superintendent Kern, Ms. Cunningham. I'm pleased to return tonight to continue our conversation that we started way back in April. We had another conversation, I believe it was in June. I'm really looking at kind of our committee structures, in particular, the LCAP PAC. I'm happy to say that Board Member Hernandez and Ms. Costa spent some time with me over the summer to take our conversation a little bit further. And what we've been able to bring back to you today is really, after looking at that review of participation data that we looked at back in the spring, reviewing what those other systems kind of look like as they structure their parent advisory committees for the LCAP. And our conversations with our parent advisory committee, we've been able to provide for you tonight some suggested changes to the LCAP PAC bylaws. What I want to highlight for you is there are kind of two areas we really wanted to address after hearing the input and the conversation from the board as well as the PAC. That first major area is really around the member experience. So if you recall, when we looked at the data from our PAC, we had a number of vacancies that had been there for a while. We had some attendance that we wanted to improve. So we really wanted to look at what was that experience like for folks and how could we perhaps improve that experience and the expectations for everybody who was participating so that everyone would come in and have a good experience and continue to be a part of the PAC. The second area we really worked on was clarifying the purpose of the PAC and the roles that different groups play in the process. So we really tried to make sure that there was clarity there so that, again, everybody had that clear expectation when coming in and what they were being asked to do, what it was going towards, and how it would benefit the board and the decision-making process. So a couple of areas I want to highlight for the how of we accomplish those two things. One is really looking at that definition of consult. So you'll notice that in the revised bylaws, we actually define the word consult, what that means, and really talk about how that advisory role really works for the PAC to the board. The second area is really how we delineate the board's actual role in this process. What role does the board play in engaging and overseeing the LCAP, but also in engaging with the PAC itself. And then a third area you'll see in here is that it really helps set participation expectations. So you'll see that we've called out a specific number of meetings, types of meetings, so that as potential members look at joining the PAC, as we really organize around the work for the year, it really helps provide hopefully some clarity for potential members and existing members on what will be asked of them so that we can have firm commitments and have people come in, know what they're getting into, and be able to make those commitments and that we can support them in that as well. And finally, and this was really an important one, I think, for both the board and what we heard from our PAC members, was really how to strengthen relationships and specifically how to build stronger relationships between PAC members and our board members. So this revision does move the committee to be appointed by board members. So each board member would be able to appoint 2 committee members. That would take us up to 14. The superintendent then gets to appoint 2 members, and then we have 4 student members. So the total number of members stays at 20, but they become board appointees. And as you know from your other committees where you appoint individuals, you have those relationships in probably a different way than we have with the PAC members in the past. Because you are selecting those folks individually, that gives you perhaps a little more opportunity to engage with those folks, have some conversations about what they're hearing, what they're seeing, and what you're hearing and what you are seeing. The bylaws do ask that you look for one of those members within your trustee area, but it does give you the flexibility then to choose your second member from anywhere within the district. The idea being that that helps us maintain that balance of representation geographically from throughout the district, but also allows you the flexibility that if there's just this great candidate who really wants to participate and they're not in your area, but they're available and you have an opening, it still gives you the opportunity potentially to do that as well. I do want to highlight that we did have the great opportunity to spend some time with the PAC at their first meeting of the year last week and shared this draft with them. Unfortunately, the packet for the board meeting was already produced at that point. So what is reflected in your packet is not reflective of the conversation we had that night, nor the changes that we would like to propose based on that conversation. So there are a couple of changes I do want to highlight for you based on our conversation with the PAC last Thursday. The first one that I'll highlight for you is under the section number 3, authority. And it's kind of the third line up from the bottom. Sentence starts with, in this regard, current says a majority. We're going to strike that a majority and replace it with any number. So we'll now read, in this regard, any number of committee members may meet at the same time and place to hear. Really wanting to make sure that we weren't making the impression that it had to be a majority or not a majority. The PAC was really wanting to make sure that it was clear that groups of kind of any size would be able to meet. So we wanted to make sure that that was clear in there as well. The second change that we want to make based on that conversation is under that next section under charge. The current language says to serve at the pleasure of the board. We're going to change that language to say consult and provide advice to the board. We think that's just more reflective of the actual role and more reflective of modern language that we would like to be using. Then under section 11, which is composition and selection of members, just a small change to really move up what is currently, I believe, item F to be item A, and really highlight for everybody that the majority of the membership really should be parents and guardians that come from our targeted groups within the LCAP itself. I'm wanting to make sure that that's seen as a priority in our membership selection and composition.
Hold on that for a second here.
So I got lost. I was writing notes to the last one.
Sorry.
Oh, here. Got it. Thank you so much. Sorry about that.
And again, on that last one, on number 11, the composition and selection, that's just moving, I believe, letter F up to be the first one, letter A.
And that's it. That's the only change.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry.
So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions or conversation you would like to have, and we will be bringing this back for your final approval at the next meeting.
Okay, before we go any further, Mr. Nelson would like to comment on these.
Thank you. Good evening, President McKibben, board members, Superintendent, Ms. Cunningham. I only have 4 statements to make. The 4th statement, I believe, is the most important. 1, to comply with the law, the school board is required to have a parent advisory committee. 2, the purpose of the parent advisory committee is to advise the school board. 3, the parents volunteering to be on your advisory committee would appreciate at least one school board member, if not each of you, stating that you value the parent advisory committee's advice. And 4th, you can demonstrate that you value parents by stating that you want the parent advisory committee to give you advice on these proposed parent advisory bylaws. Thank you.
Any comments or questions from the board? Ms. Fiascos.
Thank you, Mr. Allen, for the presentation and also for going through step by step some of the revisions that were provided by the advisory committee. And a couple of questions. First that came up was new here is sort of itemizing the number of meetings. And I'm just curious, what other committees do we have that meet with this frequency? I think we have, it's bond oversight, right? But I just wanted to confirm if there were any others.
Committees meet at a variety of times, and when we really looked at this frequency, we took into kind of 2 considerations. One is in working with John and the group on what they really thought was needed to get the work done and to provide ample opportunity. It doesn't necessarily limit folks to just this number of meetings. We really needed to do something, but it really sets that structure. The other element we looked at, again, of course, was how is it structured in other systems? And we saw things all over the map. We saw meetings every month. We saw more frequently, though, that it was 3 to 4 meetings a year was what it was taking in other districts to get this work done as well.
Great, thank you. And I do think that our bond oversight committee also, like, this is not, one, as you just noted, it's modeled on other practice, but 2, it's not new for our system. We have committees that meet at a variety of frequencies, including at this frequency as well. I also just want to take a moment to thank my colleagues who spent part of their summer putting together the revisions to the bylaws along with staff as well. I definitely think, and we've discussed this at length before, that this is an appropriate time to revisit this. We've gone through a lot of really big governance challenges. This in part reflects what it would look like to conform some of those committees, some of our committees with those significant governance changes, including the transition from 5 board members to 7. So I think this is the perfectly appropriate time to be revisiting the bylaws and considering some of these recommendations. My second question is just the first or second, I'm not sure, but I think it was the second edit that you walked through or suggestion on item number 3 regarding Green Act and the last sentence in item number 3 and the majority of committee members. Can you confirm with me that that's consistent with Green Act, or is it a preference of the committee?
It would still be consistent with the Green Act. So there's actually language that says our PAC would stay in Green Act regardless of kind of how we structure it. So regardless of whether it's our regular meeting or another meeting, it does say that the state's requirements are the Green Act requirements. We do have some other pieces in the bylaws that talk about meetings and organizations of meetings and what we want to do locally with them as well.
Got it. I think that mostly answered my question, but I'm not sure my question was completely clear. Would the way it's written now, which it says a majority of committee members, would that still be in compliance with the Green Act?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That is helpful to know. So with that, it sounds like the revision to any number of is a preference of the committee based on their feedback.
Yes.
I thank you for that clarification, and I just want to state that's something that I'm going to continue to think about and consider. I think we've had a couple of instances where there's been a subset of the committee working very closely and coming forward with recommendations that may not be reflective of the entire committee. And for me, that's a super important consideration. I would prefer, per this language, that the consultation and the advice that comes to us is reflective of the entire committee. And I'm not sure that's been the case in the past. So I'll continue to sort of contemplate that, but that's the extent of my questions for now. I will pass it on to one of my colleagues. Thank you.
Mr. Allen, could you just address a little bit under meetings, that part where it talks again about additional meetings? Because I think that we talked about how clear that is. That would address that if we had subsets meeting. I think this would be the expectation. So if you can go to that, Trent, and speak to that.
Sure. So if you look under section 7 meetings, main item D, or actually, I guess it's a little section right under main item D. It says when LCAP PAC members wish to meet to discuss LCAP PAC business outside of the district scheduled public meetings. So outside of our 4 meetings, if there are groups of members who would like to meet, the bylaws do ask that we have some transparency pieces in place, including making sure that those meetings are accessible, and that we're taking some minutes from those meetings, as well as some other pieces in there, as you can see.
I had seen that part, but I appreciate you calling it to my attention specific to my question. Thank you.
Yeah, we actually talked about it and said, is that clear enough? So I think it's good that, because the question is, so they had subcommittee meetings before. If they were to continue to do that, would those fall under this piece, Trent? And I think the expectation is yes, that they would. Am I correct?
Yes.
So they would, advertise those. They'd be open to whomever. They would provide minutes to the board so that they could see the type, who was attended and the type of conversations that took place.
Yeah, discussed.
Would it help for clarity? Because even though I had read the bylaws, I actually contacted Mr. Allen and Mr. Kern because I lost the subset on number 7 when I was reading authority. Would it help if that section, when the LCAP members wish to meet to discuss LCAP business under number 7, were also under authority? So that covers the time period when a meeting is not a district meeting? Would that make it more clear?
I think hearing the interest of making sure that the pieces from number 7 are clear in authority, I will go back with Mr. Don. And we will look at some language to propose for you in the final draft.
Okay, thank you.
Others, yeah, Ms. Creason.
Thank you. I have a couple of comments and just a couple of questions. I'm really happy we're moving into a model where we'll be appointing members. I agree that will strengthen relationships. I think it's a really great move. I do have a question about one of the agenda items. I think it's for meeting B, review and recommend approval of the annual report to the board. I'm just wondering, are members going to be expected, is that going to be the first time they see it and they're going to have to review and approve in one meeting? That makes me, I'm just wondering about that.
Let me talk with the LCAP staff and make sure that we have some clarity there as well.
Okay, sounds good. And I'll just say for the record, I hope that they have more time somehow, some way to understand what they're looking at and time to answer questions. I really like when I review the overall plan, I feel like we're really getting back to centering those with lived experience and empowering the folks with lived experience to really lead in a meaningful way. And I think that's so incredibly important. And I'm happy that that's the direction we're going. And I'm wondering 2 questions related to that. Is there a reason why we're just doing a majority of the committee members need to be parents, guardians? I'm wondering, can we raise that to more like 3/4? And if so, or if not, the pros and cons, I'm not advocating for that very strongly. I'm just wondering, why wouldn't it be more?
I don't know that there's anything that would stop us from doing that. What I would ponder is the impacts on recruitment and being able to fill all of the openings on the committee, just knowing where we've struggled in the past. I think we can do a much better job of recruitment. We have some good ideas on that front. But that's where my mind immediately goes to, is what impact would it have there? Not saying it would have a bad impact or couldn't be done. Just my initial question.
You know, one of the, I think we kind of alluded to this in the meeting when we were talking about, you know, the board had an interest in allowing those who were on the committee, which I think it's like 13 right now, to continue. We brought up, if you appointed somebody who was, had students who were just starting high school, and I think the terms are 6 years, they could ultimately serve for 4 years. Their kids would graduate. They'd no longer have students in the system. So that was a part of our conversation as well, but really it's the will of the board. So I think it was twofold. It was like, okay, do we have folks currently that are on there? And I don't know, we'd have to dig into the makeup. I think the majority are currently parents. But we could, I mean, right now you're looking at 14 members and we're saying 7, you know, that could be increased to at least 10. Again, that's the will of the board.
Another way to make, thank you for that. That's really helpful. And again, I don't know that I'm engaging in the discussion. That is the action item, colleagues, and would love every other thoughts too. But I'm thinking, I mean, in my mind, I feel like it should be more than a majority. People, you know, people that are actually in the struggle should be leading the struggle or the solutions. And so I'm wondering if we do the math a little differently, right? And we add our student board members, that gives us a total of 20 or 24? 20 total. Where would that put us in majority versus 3/4? Because then we're still meeting that goal of ensuring the majority of the members, students and guardians and parents, is more than half. So I don't need an answer. I'm just thinking with my math right now.
I mean, one of the things that we could do as well is be even more clear with like the superintendent is going to have the ability to appoint 2 people. We could, the board could request that both of those individuals, you know, be current parents. Again, you could run into a situation where if someone is serving, but you know, when I think about my superintendent's parents advisory council, reaching out to that group saying, are there individuals who would, you know, you volunteered for this, are you interested in doing this as well? Trent has had some thoughts even about, you know, how we do a better job with outreach and really letting folks know, almost like a job fair, the different committees that we have to try and get people involved. But I think that's something we could change. So you'd have at least 2 there. If each of board member accepted 1, now you're looking at 9 students, turn it into 13 that are currently kind of in the system somehow.
You have one more, right?
Yeah, and I had a follow up to what was just said.
And then go to Mr. Hand.
Is that okay? Now I need 2 minutes because I lost my thought.
Sorry.
That's okay. So the majority, sorry, because I know that was a good follow up. So you brought, I'm sorry. So you brought up a really good point. There's going to be parents that maybe during the middle of their term, they're close to their kids being close. So maybe a little clause that say within 2 years of graduation or something. I think there's a lot of value to that too. Because yeah, immediately out, I think that's close enough to the pain to provide really meaningful input. And then my last question is about the student appointees. It makes a whole lot of sense that the superintendent would make those appointments because there's just not enough for, you know, all of us to make one appointment and the relationships may not be there. But I would love for us to be able to provide some input somehow on who those folks could be, because on the reverse, maybe we know of some dynamos that would be great for consideration.
Well, and I think the other piece to that as well, we want to try and make sure our students as well may represent those groups. And just like we talked about representation from, you know, the board having representation from throughout the district. I actually think we have one area right now where when we look at the PAC, we have an over-representation in one of the areas. We're going to share that, I think, with the committee, John. Am I correct that one of the kind of areas has more significantly more than others. I mean, it might be 4, I'm not sure. But I would think the same would be true with students, that we make sure we've got representation from throughout the district.
Thank you.
Mr. Hernandez.
You guys bring up great points, and maybe if I can share maybe some thoughts of the committee on, as we discuss this. First and foremost, as we now as board members select these PAC members, now remember, you're going to be able to get in this information, and you're actually going to select. So I think in your own criteria, I know for me, my number one thing, do you have a parent in the district? That's going to be my number one criteria, mine, to appoint somebody. And second, are you a parent of a targeted student? And then not only do we represent the whole district, parent, and now a parent maybe represents that target. That's going to be my criteria as I go out and select. And I just want to share that there was some discussion on, well, are we going to have board members picking their friends on this committee? You know, and I think I made the point that, you know, as in my 10 years on the district, I've never appointed someone because they were my friend. I mean, it could be, but you know what I mean? So we're going to select who we think is going to best represent our community in these committees. And I assured them that was the case. And so I think that it's going to take care of itself, is what I'm saying, Zima, that, you know, the percentages are going to be very high based on your own criteria on who you select to this committee. You know, you see what I mean?
I hear you.
Yeah. So for what it's worth.
Ms. Vias. Thank you.
I had a few follow-ups, but I wanted to make sure. So it's entirely up to your discretion, President McKibben. So thank you for acknowledging me. I just wanted to express some of the comments just sort of had me thinking. I'm not prepared to sort of like ask for anything. This is discussion for sure. But I do find sort of adding a requirement to the term that's tied to having kids in the district, and recognition that, again, I think the example that was pointed out, that you could appoint someone who's got a sophomore in high school and they could stay on for 4 years. That's a long time out. And so maybe like 2 years after graduation, as was one of the suggestions. I did find that compelling. I'm not prepared to sort of like make a request for that. I just found that point of interest. And then another potential revision just might be around the discussion of kind of the majority of parents or legal guardians, whether or not there is a desire amongst the majority of us to change that threshold. It may be worth like explicitly calling out there of parents and students to be inclusive of the student representation on the board as well. Those are some of my thoughts to some of our discussion. Thank you.
Okay. I had a couple of questions, wonderings, suggestions. I noted that under meetings under 7A, the first meeting was not compulsory for the continuing members, and it appeared that no action was going to go on with that. That would appear to me to be that there are only 3 meetings where action could take place. Was the group that put this together concerned, particularly when on under B, small b, you review and recommend approval of annual report of to the board was one of those sort of things, but will the LCAP PAC have enough time to particularly review the information brought to them by all the other partnering groups? As I remember last year, there was more than 20 different partnering groups that brought information in terms of partner engagement. Would 3 meetings, was it discussed that 3 meetings was going to be enough for them to review those kinds of things?
So C there is really all about that input process and reviewing the input process from the external groups, as well as having some opportunity and time for the PAC itself to have some of those discussions. And then I'm going to invite John up if he'd like to give some comment on the organization of the other meetings and how those flow.
The annual report is not the LCAP report itself. It's the annual report we've done it typically in June, where in this case, PAC leadership would come up and just provide an overview of what occurred throughout the year that we see from other committees as well. But this mirrors the timeline that other committees have in terms of the annual report. So there could be some additional clarity there that the annual report is not the LCAP that happens at the end of the year. This is just the annual report they give to the board.
But the partner engagement things do also come to the LCAP PAC, is that correct?
Correct.
And so how many meetings would the LCAP PAC have to review the partner engagement information that comes to them?
So there would be one meeting where there would be a listening session conducted with the group. And then there would be an additional meeting where they would review all the input from the educational partners before making their consulting and advising.
You know, I think one of the things we're hoping, as we've had conversations and even as I've spoken to other members, is that it would be really beneficial for the PAC to, because at times not all, but some, it feels like it's an isolation of those other groups. And then it comes to them, the benefit of how we used to do some data walks, but going out and observing some of those other committees and hearing their voice directly firsthand, almost like what we do with student listening circles, just going and listening. I think that would be really beneficial because then they're hearing firsthand from the members of those committees rather than potentially a staff member providing a summary, because they may have different takeaways as well.
Okay, I am still concerned that there may not be enough time to do these kinds of reviews. Would there be provisions, if that was the case, that there could be special meetings that could be called?
I think really when we look at that part we were talking about earlier, that allows them to meet and if as the committee is going through the year and they say, okay, hey, we don't have enough time, they can call those meetings. Again, they just need to be agendized and they need to follow all the guidance that are in the bylaws here.
And then the action would take place in one of the regular scheduled meetings?
I would leave it up to the discussion of the PAC.
Okay. All right. Did you want to say? Nope. Okay. The second thing was, I think that particularly strong is the part that doesn't have a number in terms of the external meetings and so forth. I think that's one of the best changes that was made in this document. My next question was, and I'm not even sure it needs to be part of the bylaws, but I wanted to come up because there has been some difficulty, and I think we are correcting that in terms of having membership. Is there any notion, or should it be in the bylaws, about hybrid meetings or different kinds of ways of getting people included in the PAC?
I don't think I would recommend addressing it in your bylaws, unless you were going to firmly say one way or the other that it's going to be something or not be something.
All right.
I think not addressing it gives you that flexibility to have that. I know the PAC has had that conversation. They are really on the hybrid model at the moment. So I think that maintains that flexibility for the group to be able to do that.
Okay. My next question relates to Roman number 11. That is the composition. And I'm having some, and we've talked a little bit about it, in that in F, and I agree that it probably ought to be closer to A, the majority of the parents or legal guardians enrolled who are from low-income foster youth and English learners. So that would mean if there are 20 in there, that 11 of the people on the PAC would be from those groups. Is that correct?
So the way the revised language reads is that a majority will be parents, and that amongst those parents will be parents or guardians of pupils who are low-income foster youth and English language learners. So right now, it does not require that a majority are from those groups as proposed, but that's certainly, if that's an interest, we can work to address that.
And in order, so so they don't necessarily need to be from the targeted groups in the majority of 11. But even that having 11 of the people be parents. If I look at A, that would mean, and it's not in there, and I guess it would have to be an understanding that the board members' appointments, at least one of their appointments, it would seem, would have to be a parent. Is that correct? Of their 2 appointments?
Yes.
Okay, should that be in here? I know, I wasn't told that math was required in this.
Let us take that back and look and see if that would be a necessity. I would say if it needs to be a necessity, make sure it happens. We should include it. If it doesn't, I'm not in favor of language just to add pieces. But let's take a look, knowing the interest is to ensure we have a majority parent crew. If we need to specify that at least one of your selections has to be a parent. I think we have some language already, but we'll go back and dig into that.
Okay, but it just, in order to do F, I think you would have to change A in terms of the way I read it. And so I wanted to make sure that you didn't have 2 items that were in conflict with each other. Okay, those were my suggestions and comments, unless anybody else. This is a discussion item. It will come back to us in for action unless there's any further comment from the board. Okay. If not, we will move on to, do you want to close, Mr. Allen, or are you
Nope,
fine?
thank you.
Okay, we will move on to item I3.
Good evening, President McKibben, board member, Superintendent Kern, Ms. Cunningham, here tonight to present the superintendent's recommendation that the governing board adopt resolution 4032 for the exceptions for separation from service requirement pursuant to Education Code section 24214.5 and 26812. And I can answer any questions you have.
Are there any questions related to separation from service requirement? See, it has been moved by Mr. Hernandez, seconded by Ms. Vasquez. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it is unanimous. We move on to I4. Bylaws related to conflict of interest, Ms. Simlick.
Thank you and good evening, Board President, Board Superintendent Kern. I am here to discuss the conflict of interest policy along with the exhibit. There are very few minor revisions that are recommended. We're required to do this periodically and send it to the Sacramento County for them to approve it. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to help you.
This is a discussion item. Any questions or comments from the board? It's moved to consent. It could be, yes. It'll come back to us and it'll come back to us on the consent calendar. Thank you.
Thank you.
We move to I5, Williams, also Ms. Simlick.
Yes, thank you and good evening again, President McKibben, board members, Superintendent Kern and Ms. Cunningham. Education Code Section 35186 requires district staff report to the board at a regularly scheduled meeting concerning any William type complaints and the resolution of those complaints. There were no William Act complaints filed in the quarter April through June 2022.
Any questions or comments from the board? This is a report. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We move to item I6, labor relations, Mr. Thickford.
Thank you. Good evening, President McKibben, board members, Superintendent Kern, and Ms. Cunningham. I have the pleasure of presenting the next 5 items before you tonight. I'm here tonight to present the first one, which is the district's bargaining interest with the San Juan Teachers Association for the current school year. And I can answer any questions that you have. This is coming back for public comment, all of these on September 13th.
How are we doing individually? Yeah. Okay. Any questions related to I6 related to San Juan Teachers Association? Okay, seeing none, let's move to I7.
I-7 is the presentation of the district's bargaining interests with our Teamsters Local 150 for this year. And this one's also coming back for public comment on the 13th.
Questions or comments from the board related to Teamsters? Seeing none, we will move on to I-8.
This one is with the San Juan Professional Educators Coalition. This one and the next two are a little bit different and that we already presented and had our initial proposals adopted by the board earlier this year. Since we've come back together, we have mutual agreement to reopen an additional article. So we're sunshining that this evening.
Questions related to SJPEC? Seeing none, we will move on to I-9.
These are our amended bargaining interests with the San Juan Supervisors Association for 22-23.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, we will move on to I-10.
And this last one is also an amendment to our bargaining interests with California School Employees Association, chapter number 127 for the current school year.
Questions or comments? We look forward to you coming back on September 13th.
Likewise, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next item relates to, I hope, future agenda. Board, first of all, board reports. Haven't turned my page. Board reports, any? It appears there are none. Now, future agenda items. Are any requests for future agenda items? Seeing none, we are adjourned.